Okay, so we are continuing our 2025 NRL season previews. We're looking at the Newcastle Knights. In this video, they finished 8th in the regular season, 30 points. They finished 8th by points differential. They had a far better defence than the Canberra Raiders, and they won their final game of the season against the Dolphins. Had they lost that game, the Dolphins were most likely going to progress into the top 8. Now, they had a minus 40 point differential for and against, compared to the Canberra Raiders, who had a minus 127. The Dolphins had a minus 1. Had the Dolphins won that game, Newcastle would have missed out and would have finished where the Dolphins finished in 10th. So it did come down to the last game of the season. The coach is Adam O'Brien. He's been under a lot of pressure basically since day one because the team isn't really progressing as intended. They've been making the top 8. It's just taking that next step. So there's always a lot of pressure. When they lose a few games, the pressure is on Adam O'Brien. I think something that's going in their favour is they've got some great young players that have stepped up to first grade, and a very mobile, physical forward pack, which goes in their favour. So they're a very mobile team. When they're playing well, the outside backs and the forwards combine really well. The spine combines really well. But that's part of the issue, is the depth. There was a lot of injuries last season that did sort of cause some problems. The halves. What is their starting lineup? Who's playing in what position? Is Kayln Ponga really a fullback? Is he a halfback? 5'8". Felix Crossland, is he the best 9 they have? Jackson Hastings, what role will he have? Jack Cogger, what role does he have? The halves is a big issue. The spine is a big issue. And Kayln Ponga's fitness. He spent a lot of time out injured, and that is a big contract that eats a lot into their salary cap. So that's where a lot of their issues lies, is finding out their best spine combination. You've got Tyson Gamble in there, Jackson Hastings, Felix Crossland, Kayln Ponga, Jack Cogger. Now, there's some good players in there. On their day, there are some good players in there. And Felix Crossland has really stepped his game up over the last couple of years and has really improved as an all-round player, as a bit of a utility as well. He can play lock should the need arise. Jackson Hastings has a bit of utility about him and is also a very good player. He's a very skillful player. He's a very intelligent player. However, Jackson Hastings is also one of those players where he disrupts dressing rooms. So while Kayln Ponga is the superstar of this team, and his contract, it's a big contract. It is a big contract. There are question marks over his fitness and his commitment at times. Jackson Hastings, will he still be a Newcastle Knight come the start of the season? How much longer will he be a Newcastle Knight? Is Jackson Hastings and his presence divisive in the dressing room? They have lost some of some of their depth. Some players have been moved on. Now, I think the Knights, it's a difficult one. Much like the Raiders, much like the Dolphins, they're in and around the top 8 and that mid pack. They're not good enough to make the top 4, but they're not bad enough to be wooden spoonists. They're very hard to read. They're very hard to predict. They have the talent to potentially make the top 4. They have the talent to every season be a top 8 side and potentially go on a run to a grand final. The problem is they're not consistent enough in the regular season. When their form goes bad, they can go on lengthy losing streaks. But when they're on form and they're playing well, they can go on lengthy winning streaks. They are so inconsistent, which is a massive problem. So there's a lack of consistency. And then when they do have injuries, let's say Bradman Best in the centres. Very good centre. Dane Gagai, very good centre. They're their 2 best centres. When they're both out injured, that poses problems with the outside backs and rejigging the back line. When Kayln Ponga's out injured, that poses problems of who's going to be the long-term backup fullback to Kayln Ponga, because they've got several options in that position who are not quite at the level of Kayln Ponga, but can fill in. Now, they've tried Kayln Ponga in the halves. Didn't work. He's had concussion problems. He's had other injuries as well, but concussion is the big concern in that regard. So where do you fit Kayln Ponga into this side, considering his contract is a big contract? And if they were to get on a losing streak, pressure goes back onto Adam O'Brien. Yet somehow the players seem to not take as much of the blame as they potentially should. Some of these players have underperformed at times. How united is that dressing room? The Jackson Hastings question. Tyson Gamble, Felix Crossland, Jack Cogger. How do they slot in to the spine as well. So while it does give them spine options and halves options and options at hooker and potentially options at fullback as well, how does that all work? How will it all work long term? I'm not even sure Adam O'Brien knows his best halves combination and his best full spine combination either, which is a massive problem. With no consistency in 9, 6, 7 and 1, they're not going to progress, and that is a problem. That's something he's got to figure out. He's had several seasons to figure it out, still hasn't, and then you have to ask questions of the coaching setup. You do have to start asking questions of the coaching setup, and also some of their recruitment and retention as well, because it's a one club town, Newcastle. It's one club city. They have the pick of the bunch in the Hunter Valley, yet somehow I wouldn't say mismanaged their salary cap and their player recruitment and retention, but they have made some really bad errors over the last decade and a half in regards to how they build their squad, how competitive that squad is, and some of the contracts that have been signed with some of the players. There's a reason why they had 3 consecutive wooden spoons in the mid-2010s. There's a reason why it's taken them a long time to become competitive again. It's how the team is structured, and at the moment, the spine of the team is what's their best spine. What's their most competitive spine? What's their most stable spine? They've tried multiple options in the 1, 6, 7 and 9 positions. It's just... That's, I think, their real Achilles heel. But there we go. That's my thoughts on the Newcastle Knights. I think they'll be around roughly the same. Middle of the pack. Bottom of the 8, maybe top of the bottom half of the table. Somewhere in that range, taking it down to the last couple of weeks of the season. A lot depends on their consistency. If they can string, let's say, win 4 out of 6 games in a block, then yes, they'll make the top 8. But if they start losing more than they're winning, and they get on a lengthy losing streak, their season could unravel very, very quickly by Origin. The first half of the season is going to be crucial in how the Newcastle Knights season overall will go and whether they make the top 8. So in the pre-Origin period, if they can win, let's say, 6 out of 10, that I think will be a solid foundation. So 60 to 70% of their games in the first half of the season. So let's say 6 or 7 of the first 10. Then yes, they have a very, very good chance of doing something in the second half of the season, going on a bit of a run. But if they struggle or start slowly, this season could unravel and the pressure goes back on Adam O'Brien. And as it's a one-club town, the local media will get on him, the fans, they turn up in numbers, and they've been denied success for 24 years since they last were in a grand final. It's been a long time, and they're a very loyal fan base. Very large fan base, very solid, passionate fan base in a very working class community in the Hunter Valley, and they deserve a better, more consistent team than what's been dished up, considering the amount of money Kayln Ponga and some other players are on. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on the Newcastle Knights, where they're going to finish. Will they sort out their spine, their best spine? Will they get some consistency there? And where will they finish and how will they do? Will they make the top 4? Will they be a top 8 side again, or will they miss out? Will they drop back? Time will tell. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also if you are interested, become a member. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.